Do you ever have goals for your fitness, for your health, for your weight loss, and you go in it with this attitude of all or nothing, like I have to be perfect. It has to go exactly this way. And if it doesn't, then I'm out. We all tend to do that. And today we have an awesome guest joining us who's going to talk about this and how fitness doesn't have to be an all or nothing thing. Let's get this party started. This is LadyBoss Unplugged. Let's go. Welcome to LadyBoss Unplugged. This is Molly Richards, your host. I am beyond excited to empower you to overcome life's obstacles, to form new healthy habits, to cultivate a growth mindset, as well as bring in some super cool guests who will share their own kind of magic with you. Oh, did I mention we'll have fun too? Heck yes, we will. Join me for weekly, unfiltered, raw, real, and encouraging conversations that inspire transformative change, that give you the tools to create a positive domino effect in every aspect of your life, and just have fun hanging out. Now, let's get unplugged. Okay, this is Molly Richards, your podcast host of LadyBoss Unplugged. And can you tell I'm a little bit giddy today? Because check it out. We have the most amazing guest, our first guest. And woo, if you're watching this on YouTube, we are dancing pretty much. We're raising the roof here. We're having a good old time. And so I'm going to give her an intro because you're probably waiting. You want to find out who it is. So it is Andi Veenker. And she is not only super beautiful inside and out, but she is our LadyBoss lead trainer. Hello, so cool. And she is a wife. She is a mom of 3 babies. What? Not just 1, not just 2, 3. Yo, that is a lot. I always say like anyone who has more than 2 is like a total superhero. So Andi is also a podcaster. She's a published author. I need to know more on that. I can't wait for that. 15 years in the fitness industry. What? That's a long time. She's also an influencer, and we have this in common too, which is crazy. We both lost 65 pounds postpartum, like after having our babies. Like what? So anyway, she is beautiful and amazing, and I don't want to keep talking because I want you to share a little bit about yourself with us. So here she is.
Yay! Thanks so much for having me. I'm super excited. I'm excited too that we'll get to chat often, right?
Yes. We're hanging out. Yes.
We're gonna hang out
and we're gonna have you as much as possible.
Which is awesome. I'm so excited. Mostly just, like getting to talk to our lady bosses aside, so excited. But also getting to hang out with you, never upset. It's always an honor.
I feel the same. You're so sweet. Oh my gosh. You make me smile just whenever you talk and you share things with the LadyBoss community. I'm always just like smiling the whole time. I'm like, oh my gosh, your energy is contagious, infectious. So thank you for that.
Thank you. That was so nice.
So tell us a little bit about yourself, like how you've been in the fitness industry for 15 years. Like how did it all get started?
So a long time ago, I grew up, I was a wee babe, and my dad loved all things fitness. He wanted to be Arnold, like Arnold Schwarzenegger. And he like wanted us so much to have this love of fitness and movement like he did. Like he would buy us matching tracksuits every Christmas and a rec membership to our local rec center. And every time we went to the rec center, I would scream and cry. I was like, I hate exercise. I hate it so much. Because then we'd like run on the track or like I would try a machine. I'm like, Mom, I burn like 200 calories. And she's like, oh, that's like almost like a slice of bread. And I'm like, what is even the point? What is even the point? It's uncomfortable. It's sweaty. No one likes exercise. People that do are crazy. So fast forward a few years later, I was like 18. I got this injury at work. And after I had to have surgery and stuff, I was introduced to physical therapy. I tried an elliptical at physical therapy, and I was like, okay, so actually this feels kind of good. And I tried to take aerobics classes at school, and I was like, okay, so maybe running isn't my thing. Maybe like running a track at a rec center is not my flavor of fitness, but maybe there's more out there. And it wasn't until I went to a gym and I said, what are the classes? And they're like, here's the schedule. And I'm like, Zumba fitness. And I was like, sounds spicy. Let's try it. Found out it was Zumba.
Yeah.
And I found
Oh
out
my
that it was
gosh.
like, that was a whole nother level. Like I fell in love instantly. It was music that was familiar to me. I'm Latino. I have a Hispanic background. And so to have like the music of like my life, and then also to see movement and be in a room with people that were just so high energy and we're like whoop whoop, but then also having fun. It felt like we were in the club on a Tuesday night and it was safe. There were no creepy people. I'm like, this is
Oh my
this
gosh.
is something that I want. Like this is the energy that I didn't know I needed. And so from there, that's kind of what catapulted me into being like, well, how do I like love this? How do you teach it? And then from there, I started to really get into other things, like other flavors of fitness, like lifting, like personal training. And I pursued a bunch of other certifications. And so here we are 15 years later. And it has just been such an amazing ride. And I'm so grateful. I always tell, or like anytime I talk to people, and like you might relate, because I don't know if y'all knew listening that Molly was also a fitness instructor, but like it's something you don't plan on, right? It's not a career that you're like, when I grow up, I'm going to be into fitness. It's like, it kind of just finds you. And everyone that I've ever met has related to that. It's like, was not in the plan. It just found them. But I'm so grateful because of not only the physical benefits that I've gained, but like the emotional and the community and all of it that fitness has brought into my world. It has just been the best path that I didn't know I needed to find. And so it's such a ride, and it's been awesome too, to be able to have kids in like throughout that process and get to have my own experiences with, postpartum body or mental health, like anxiety, depression, and also being able to learn how to empathize with other women as well as include my family in fitness. And so it has just been amazing how it all has come together, like such a full circle thing. And I don't plan on quitting anytime soon.
I love it. And how amazing that, your dad taking you to the rec center would lead to this. And then you going to that class and you know what I mean? And it's funny. Yes, I was a fitness instructor before, and I don't know, I've been retired for like 5 years. But I also went into a class not knowing that I would be an instructor too. But there's this moment where you're like, oh my gosh, I could do this. I could influence other people to make positive changes and do this raising kids and get paid to work out.
Yes.
Although I did the math after a couple of years and I was like, I don't really make any money because I'm buying so many shoes.
I'm paying a lot of money
outfits.
too. I pay a lot of money for this job.
Yes.
So true.
But don't you think in the end, you're a better mom because of all of that too? You're happy, you're energetic, you're doing something for yourself, you're healthy. And then all of a sudden you're like, oh my gosh, it's like a win-win for everybody.
Yeah. And I think it also
I would like to take your Zumba class.
Oh my gosh, we'll have to do a Zumba together. I need to try all your classes, all your Turbo Kit classes. It's just that it's like such a fulfillment thing. You know what I mean? Like I get so much fulfillment being at home with my kids. It makes me so happy. But I like having this other layer of fulfillment outside of the home, that you get to see people change and fall in love with fitness. It's like, it's just so beautiful. Or you see someone that's like, I added a 5-pound plate to my barbell, and you're like, you're so strong. And it's like, just, there's nothing like it. There's nothing like, like I love people that get to be in the fitness or beauty industry, because it's like, that's their job, is to just help people realize how beautiful and how strong they are. Like what an amazing job. For anyone listening, if you've ever wanted to be a fitness instructor, it is the best job. Like you said, you make no money, but you make a whole lot of...
You make no money.
A whole lot of love. Good karma vibes.
It's the best. And now you get to help, so many people in the LadyBoss community. Just you're leading us, you're showing us what is possible in us and showing us your journey, which it totally is inspiring, and showing what works for you and how far you've come in your journey. It's just like really, really cool. I love when I get to see like real life, like this is real. You are so real. And you help so many of us believe in ourselves again, or all over again. And I think that through, even if fitness instructor or not, all of us as women, we tend to go through like ups and downs, right? Where we're crushing it, we're killing it. And then all of a sudden we're like, we've lost it. We're feeling no motivation. We're not feeling inspired anymore. We just feel like, oh, I'm done. And so what do you know what, with this topic of how fitness doesn't have to be an all or nothing thing, have you seen this? Have you experienced this in your life, seen other women go through this? And if you can give us some direction or anything that everyone listening to, like, I know that we all go through this. I definitely went through this like a year ago, and I feel so good that I finally was like, it's not all or nothing, you know, and this is former instructor.
Yeah.
So it doesn't matter if we are that, we still go through it.
Absolutely. I think I'm like, there are a few things that come to mind with that. I have had the opportunity as like an online coach even to work with different women, and it has been interesting because yeah, I've seen it in myself. I've totally seen it myself. I'll go there in a minute, but I want to talk about like a one client in particular.
Yes.
And
Mhm.
I remember she was just so driven, so amazing. And I think we all begin that way, and I think that's the way to start anything is like if you feel fire, you go for it.
Mhm.
And trying to figure out how to make it a long-lasting fire, not a quick flame, right? Make it a long-lasting, like afterburn, love of this new habit or this new
Mhm.
desire to like feel physical or emotional change with starting with like an exercise program. But I had one client in particular that she really struggled because she felt like if I eat something quote bad, like I'm using heavy quotations, I don't believe that there's like a bad food. Controversial
Mhm.
as it seems, I feel like there's room for everything. But she
Yep.
felt like if she ate a cookie or something, everything was derailed. She was a failure. She like, what was even the point of trying? And I think about like how sad that is that we get so hard on ourselves. I like to relate it as a car. Like, say you're starting a road trip and you blow a tire. When we see our fitness journeys as like an all or nothing thing, it's like we are taking a match and lighting the car on fire, being like, well, we blew a tire, the whole car is bad to me now. When the reality
Mhm.
is it's like, no, we can just change the tire and keep going. We can like see that there's balance, that there's need for balance, that sometimes there's need for a cookie, sometimes there's need for rest. And then we just move forward and it just becomes part
Mhm.
of our life. I think we get trapped in this idea of like, I have to live a fit life or I have to live the opposite. It's like, no, exercise, wellness, nutrition, it's just a puzzle piece in the grand scheme of our whole lives, right? It can't be everything. Otherwise,
Mhm.
and like we could probably go in too deep too fast, but it's mostly just this idea of like it becomes our whole identity, it becomes everything, and then we have all these external things at play defining how we see ourselves, how we feel about
Mhm.
ourselves, and how much of a disservice are we doing when we make everything about just this one aspect of us, when the
Mhm.
reality is it's like, no, there's so much more to our story. This is just 1 hour of our 24 hours a day. Like, so
Mhm.
how would you, Molly, how would you make that, what would you tell somebody? I'll just flip the script. Like, what would you tell somebody that feels like it has to be an all or nothing situation? Like, how do you break that? Because
Yeah, that's such
it's something, like you said, we all struggle with.
yeah. I always think, so I think about it, I'm like, the first thing I think is like, what are your goals? You know, like first, like, what are your goals? What do you want out of this? How do you want to feel? I always go to how do you want to feel, not how do you want to look? Because for me, I grew up in a family. I have four older sisters, and I'm the youngest girl. And I could picture myself as a young 8-year-old girl. And I have a sister who's like 20 years older than me or whatever, 15 years older. And everything was, how do I look? Am I too fat? Am I too this? Am I too this? And I'm a little girl. They didn't know, you know what I mean? But I was like, oh my gosh, everything has to do with the size of their pants, how they look. It wasn't about, do you feel good? And
Mhm.
so like I get teary thinking about that, which is so weird, but it's about how do you want to feel? Do you want to show up better for your kids, for yourself? Do you want energy to play with them? Do you want to sleep better? Do you want to feel sexy for your husband? I'm always about that. So that's what I would first start with. Okay, how do you want to feel? Then let's start there and maybe start 2 days a week and then maybe 3 days a week, maybe try this. If you don't like this, try this. So that's what I would say to someone, just because for me, it's a feeling. And I think when we feel better, we will stay the course, even when things get hard.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yes. It's kind of crazy though. I'm sure we all have our own stories of like our childhood, things we heard, things we now think are true. And it's like, sometimes we have to change our mindset. And so that's like what a lot of this podcast is about. And I know that you, being in the fitness industry for so long, being a woman, being a mom who's had children, like, it's like we all have different things that we go through. So it's just so wild. But I love that you said long lasting fire, not a quick fix. I think that so many times we want that quick fix. And if we don't lose the weight quick, if we don't feel the changes, if we don't see the size on our clothes changing, like then we're like, oh, it must not work for me. I'm out. So what would you say to someone who's like, I want quick results, or I'm not doing it? I'm sure you've seen this in your classes too.
Oh yeah.
I'm not doing
like
it.
in every aspect.
I can't dance. Yeah.
I felt
Yeah.
it. I've seen it with and even just neighbors that will just talk about it. Have you ever noticed that like when you know anything about fitness, people are like, okay, tell me how to get skinny fast.
Yes,
and you're like,
yes.
I don't know. Like I'm working on it.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think something that I love, I'm a firm believer in therapists. Shout out to my therapist. She's amazing.
Yes.
Or in therapy, sorry. Yeah.
Yes.
She always asks me, how are you defining success? And like that is something that I've had to keep. I always try and keep in the forefront of my mind. Like, what is my definition of success in this situation? Because I think, like me, I'm a recovering perfectionist. I am somebody that really cares. Like, I really care about doing my best, and what my best looks like is probably way more intense than anyone. No, not I think. What I so for myself is a lot more hardcore than anyone else would ever expect of me, right? My personal best is not normal. I'm like, I'm so extra. And in some cases I think that's a really good thing. In some cases I need to learn how to I've been trying to practice self-compassion, saying, what does success look like for me here? And this can come through in anything. So if my definition of success is I want to be skinny first, what does that mean? What does that look like for me personally compared to somebody else? It's so individual and it's so vague. Or is success, instead of being so vague and so, what's the word? Subjective.
Yeah.
What else could I focus on? Did I move my body today? And can I call that successful?
Yes.
Did I get out of bed today? Did I get ready today? Did I find gratitude in something in myself today? Right. And trying to make that the definition, instead of saying like something so far away and something so hard to define. And so that has been such a game changer for me personally. And also being able to like have that question when people are asking, like, what can I do? Where do I start? It's like, well, what does success look like for you right now? Does it look like, let's get a gym membership? Let's buy a new pair of shoes to try on today? Like, what does it feel like for you right here today in this moment? And then we'll go from there. And I think that can also help remove a lot of pressure, because then it helps us kind of step back and say, okay, maybe I am a lot harder on myself than anyone else would be. And how can I approach this in a way that is focused on longevity and focused on self-compassion? And those things will get us toward, or like will help us work toward our fitness or any goal, really. And self-improvement more than anything, I think.
I love that. Oh my gosh. I was like taking notes and then I was like, I gotta listen. But I think that is so true. And I think like celebrating, I even did this yesterday with myself, that you're saying this and I'm like, oh my gosh, it's like celebrating all the wins. We want this big, huge win. Like, I don't know why my brain just went to like a basketball game. We don't see the final score. We see all the points along the way, right? Or any sort of sport. But I was thinking this yesterday. I bought a new Hydro Flask. And I was like, okay, we talk about like the sip rule throughout the day with LadyBoss. And yesterday I was like, okay, I have this new great Hydro Flask. I need to drink more water. Like I know it. But it was funny because I was going to bed. I was like, yes, look at me. I drink like 2 or 3 of those. Like I couldn't remember. I was just drinking all day, but I was like celebrating water. But also like we need to celebrate that. That's a win, right?
Yeah.
And that is part of fitness. Fitness isn't just Jane Fonda. Well, people are probably too young.
Oh, we love
maybe,
her.
But anyway, I love Jane
Our
Fonda.
queen.
Yeah. But it's not just about like the workout. Fitness is so much more. And it's like having even like a fit mind, knowing, you know what I mean? And so, and I love what else, you just said so many good things. Oh, you said self-compassion and perfectionism. And whenever I hear the word like perfectionism and all that, I start to think of how social media messes with so much of our heads when we're doing this, our fitness journey. We see everyone's highlight reel. We see the after, we see the fixed photos, the filtered photos and everyone's good stuff. It's like everyone has a story. And so we just need to own our story, right? And say, this is where I am. This is where I want to go. What's it going to take? And I should celebrate along the way. What do you think of that? Like I myself can scroll and go, I'm not this enough. I'm not this enough. Why, and then whatever. I just start to go down like a rabbit hole. And so I just don't think that's very healthy. So what do you say about that?
To kind of backtrack for 2 seconds, you were saying that like the brain is such an important part of our fitness journey. I heard a quote literally this morning watching that like Dallas Cowboys show on Netflix right now.
Oh, I need to watch it.
It's so good. But it's very eye-opening.
Okay.
But they bring on this football. I'm like, clearly I know nothing about football, but apparently he was a big deal and took the Cowboys to the Super Bowl a few times. But he said the most important muscle to work is the one between our ears. And I said, oh, I love that so much.
Yeah.
It's the most underrated tool for success in any aspect of life is like our mindset of how we're looking at things. Oh, and what was the other? What was the question you just asked?
Just kind of about like social media and the idea that we should be perfect. And if we aren't, then kind of like, what's the point? Or should I quit? Or why is it worth it? Am I good enough? We start to go down those negative things. It's like, oh my gosh,
Yeah. And I think that kind of goes back to like our definition of success, and then also trying to ground ourselves in those things that we are doing well. And social media is such an interesting world. And it is interesting that I think as human beings, we have this internal need for connection and belonging. And a lot of us seek that through social media, which social media is a powerful tool for connection. We love it. I think it's trying to remember that it's not, like you said, it's not the whole story, where you don't see the whole game. You see the highlight. I love that analogy that you shared. And even though there are like these really inspiring people that are like, don't compare your page 1 to someone else's page 300. It's like, that doesn't resonate when I'm seeing a picture that's showing me something different.
Yeah.
And so I think trying to set like really good boundaries for ourselves around social media and is really important, and trying really hard to I think I try really hard for myself to catch myself in those moments of wanting. When I am in a place that I'm like, they are so much prettier than me, or they have so much stuff that I wish I had, especially now, like everyone's like an Amazon influencer and look at all the amazing things that they have. And like, they want me to buy. And I'm like, am I am I inferior because I don't have like all these cute things? When I catch myself in these feelings of, I don't feel enough, I don't have enough, and these wanting, I want more, especially when it's like more material stuff, I always have to kind of step back and say like, okay, where is this coming from?
Yeah.
Do I know that I am of value without achievement and without stuff? And sometimes it's like, that's a really hard practice. Honestly, I feel like practicing that self-awareness can be so tough, to just be able to say like, hey, I don't have the same story as a social media influencer and they're inspiring and I love that for them.
Yeah.
But if it's making me feel any type of way negatively toward myself, then maybe I need to like pump the brakes, turn off social media, or even just say, like find out what I could do to ground myself in my own worth.
Mm-hmm.
Like we had some kind of a lesson in high school, and I remember our teacher was talking about jealousy, and he's like, "Have you ever thought about jealousy? Like, what is jealousy? What kind of emotion is it?" And someone said, like, I always feel jealousy when someone is doing something that I'm not. And that was like, so, ooh, like, tell me more. But our teacher challenged us to start really noticing when we're feeling jealousy or when we're feeling judgmental. He's like, they come from the same place. If we're judging somebody else, we're like, ooh, they must be doing something that I'm not. And starting to think like that instead of thinking, ooh, like they're so whatever. It's like, no, my feelings, this negative feeling is all about me. So where is it coming from?
Yeah.
And so that was like such an eye-opening thing. So anytime I feel that like jealousy or that judgment, whether it's toward myself or anyone around me, that's the first place I think of is, what are they doing that I'm not? And why is it making me feel some type of way? Or am I doing well enough and I'm just not noticing it myself? That was a very long answer.
No, I love that so much. Oh my gosh. Okay. I can't wait to listen to this back. Oh my gosh. Okay, that was awesome. So if someone is listening right now and they're like, okay, I really want to get fitter. I just want to feel better. I want to do all this. What do you recommend for them to just like get the overwhelm out, and just be like, again, it doesn't have to be all or nothing, like fit or not. It's like, how can I just like make fitness like just, something I do, on a regular basis?
I think picking a first step. I love New Year's. And working in a gym, like, how exciting it is when people are like,
Yeah,
I want to like change my life. But something I think a lot of us do is we jump in with this all or nothing thinking. Okay, so I'm going to start my fitness journey. So I'm going to start meal prepping and I'm going to cook all the chicken and then I'm going to get the outfit and I'm going to start at 6 a.m. for sure. Cause that's when the diehards go. I'm going to go to the gym at 6 a.m.
Yeah.
And then that first day hits and we're like, actually, I'm kind of tired. Maybe I won't go. I'll start tomorrow because that's too early. Or maybe, like we start kind of rationalizing. But I think instead of kind of going back to the car analogy, instead of saying, okay, I'm a little tired, maybe I'll go later, or maybe I'll go on a walk instead. I think a lot of us will just shut it down completely. So maybe picking one thing a week. That. And that's something that I've always tried to challenge my clients. Like, have you ever been to the gym? No. Okay, so buy a gym membership. Your first day, you're just going to put on your shoes. Next day, we're going to get in the car and you can sit in the car and then be done. And that's okay. Yeah. Or if you want to take it to another level, drive to the gym. Don't go inside yet. Just get in, just practice driving, put on your shoes and drive to the gym, and just building one step at a time and seeing how I think it builds a lot of confidence when we can just do the one thing, even as small as put on your shoes.
Okay.
Like I think it can establish that confidence, and the one thing leads to the next and we can build on those habits. But when we try and do it all, quote, perfectly all at once, it's really easy to feel defeated.
Yeah.
And so whatever that looks like, if you're more interested in food, go to the grocery store and buy only enough food for one recipe and try it. And if you like it, great, you did it. And then if you want it again, do the same thing. But just taking one step at a time until you're learning these habits and figuring out what works for you personally, because what works for me might not work for anyone else and vice versa. So finding your first step.
I love that. You said so many things that I totally, when I go back to like January 1st, I remember seeing the gym all packed and everyone's making changes. And then about a month later, it dies off, right? But I've been there as well, where I'm like, okay, I'm going to go to these 4 classes. I'm going to do all this and I'm going to meal prep. I mean, really, I remember like You really hit some good ones where you're like, one meal, buy enough food. Cause I would do that where I'd be like, I'm going to make all this. I'm going to buy all this rotisserie chickens. I'm going to chop up. My
It's always
husband's
a
like, well,
rotisserie chicken.
but my husband would be like, well, what are we eating? And I mean, to be honest with you, I don't love meal prep. I like food prep. And then I put together the meals. So, but I remember doing that and I was like, I don't want any more sweet potatoes. So, but one change I think is really good. And that change could be, like you said, like putting on your shoes. That's a win. Like, I think that we need to just recognize that, right? Like, that's such a good, that was very powerful. And I know it sounds simple, but it is. It's like, you did that. Good for you. You walked in the gym. You walked on the treadmill, you whatever. And I love that. I love that you said one step at a time. I know that so many times we just see the whole staircase, if we're going to that quote, and we say, that's far, that's hard. But it's like each change you make, we should celebrate. And then you just build on that. I love that. I love that. Oh my gosh. Okay. You're teaching so many good stuff.
You're so sweet.
I can't even talk. But I love that so much. And I know this is going to encourage so many people to just go make the change, and practicing that self-compassion, I think, is so, so important. And we're getting to know you, by the way. And so it's so much fun. Like I said, Andi's going to be on, lots of podcasts with me. She is our lead trainer and she is our expert. And so with that said, I do have another question for her, but I just want to also let anyone who's listening, like, if you have questions for Andi, let us know, and then we can cover them on future podcasts together. And I also love, I told Andi, I was like, I'm going to throw a question at you. I'm not going to let you know what it is. And she's like, I'm scared. And I said, you should be. No, I'm kidding. But well, first, before we get to that question, we'll get to the question. I don't want to tease. So what is your, I kind of know because you just kind of told us, but maybe it isn't. What is your like guilty pleasure right now? What is that thing where you're like embarrassed to tell people you're doing, you're watching, you're reading, you're learning, or you're obsessed with? Like, what's that thing, your guilty pleasure?
2 things.
Oh, yes, 2.
Like 2 for sure. Bridgerton. I love Bridgerton.
Oh, yes.
On Netflix. That's my show.
I love it.
It's so good.
Oh.
And then organizing containers. I have so many containers. I just love containers. There's another show.
Are you organized? Are you like super organized?
I should be more organized. How many containers we have? I'm doing a lot better. But there's a show that I watched during COVID called Get Organized with the Home Edit. Have you ever seen that?
I have that.
Love them.
Love it.
Yeah.
Yes.
Changed my life. I'm like, okay, if it fits in a container,
yes,
we can keep it safe. If it overflows, but no, it's gotten to a point when people are like, is there like a gift card you love? And I'm like, the Container Store or Amazon. Yeah, it's like I can buy one container at the Container Store with a $200 gift card, but worth it. Yeah.
Oh my gosh, those home edit girls are the only reason why my pantry is super organized. The spinning things, for all. I mean, people walk into my pantry, they're like, "What is this?" And I'm like, "Oh." Like I have a song.
Let me tell you.
But I'm like, well, I saw one of the Kardashians' pantries, and then I was obsessed. Yeah. I also read the other day that J-Lo had her 55th birthday party, and it was Bridgerton themed. I just want to let you know that. No, J-Lo.
Where was my invite?
No, why were we not there? Okay.
I need to surround myself with more friends that would be interested and be like, can we dress Bridgerton? Can we do something like this? Just on a random afternoon, please.
So good. You are such a breath of fresh air, and really talking with you. And we have so many more we're going to talk so much more, but I'm so happy to know you. Can you tell us where people can find you? I know you have your own podcast too. And also just tell us a little bit more about how we can, learn more from you, get to know you.
My podcast is very niche. By the way, it's specifically for fitness instructors. Okay. And so if you are somebody that wants to be a fitness instructor, you can find it. It's Fit Pro Radio on all major podcasts. It is outdated, so I will have to update. But and you can find me on Instagram. It's just Andi Marie, but it's very Utah spelling. If you are from Utah, we have very creative name spelling here. It's ANDIMAREE, Andi Marie. And so I would love to connect with you on any of those platforms. I love it. Connecting people from all over the world is my favorite part of all of this.
And I'm sure you follow Andi. If you haven't yet, you have to. And her Instagram reels and videos are so fun. They will make you laugh. They will make you smile, pump you up. And you'll be like, okay, what magic, what the heck, whatever she's having, I'm having. And you'll want to follow her and all of that good stuff. So you're amazing. I'm so thankful that we got to finally have this first podcast. There's more to come, but we just are excited to get to know you, to learn from you. We're already inspired by you. And you're just magical. So excited. All right. Thanks everybody for listening. Remember, keep giving us your reviews. We're so thankful for that, and sharing this with friends. And we appreciate you. And, our goal is just to help you realize that you are amazing, that you are the star of your life, and that you can go do anything. And as Lady Bosses, we are here to be your hype girls. We are here to cheer for you and help you remember that, like, you can literally reach any goal that you believe in, and you're not alone with Lady Boss, which is so cool, right?
I love that.
All right, girlfriend, we'll see you on the next one. Thank you. Thanks
Thank
everybody
you, everyone.